Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss suggestions and reports of a changing strategy for Rishi Sunak in what would seem a series of ill-advised moves, unless of course he wants to destroy the Conservative Party at the next election, in which case carry on. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So Rishi Sunak should change his strategy, of course. His current one, whatever that is clearly not working. His claim to be the steady hand on the economy was already stretching credulity, given that the economy was in a mess already last summer before Liz Truss got anywhere near it, and he was the Chancellor for the few years before that. But it has been blown out of the water with the latest developments, including gilt yields above Liz Truss levels. Her supporters are not letting that one go. His 5 pledges are crashing and burning. He is going to need a spectacular piece of luck in order to rescue any of them. And when I say rescue of them, I mean that they just happen to be rescued without any input from him. His MPs are openly attacking one another. I mean, should we go through a few examples? The most famous examples are, of course, the Johnson loyalists attacking other Tory MPs for being mean to Boris. Their attacks particularly directed at the Tory MPs on the Privileges Committee, but they're also attempting to undermine the wider party, you know, for their failure to protect their blonde buffoon saviour. But there are others as well, like Greg Hans, the party chair, a bit of a clown, but I do have to feel a little sorry for him because he seems to be the only senior Tory going out trying to campaign. There's 3 crucial by-elections for the Conservatives coming up, and the only senior Tory I've seen out campaigning is Greg Hans. But he was trying to make something of Keir Starmer getting off the train at Selby on Thursday to campaign for the upcoming by-election at Selby and Ainsty. And presumably he was trying to ridicule Starmer for not coming by helicopter. What are you coming by train for, you idiot? But the stunt backfired somewhat. In reality, it was a fairly pathetic attempt at a political attack and drew a response from another Tory MP, Justin Tomlinson, who savaged his own party chair for messing about with what he calls silly stunts instead of like proving their worth to the voters. Then Jake Berry, Liz Truss and Boris Johnson loyalist, tried to attack those against the Rwanda plan as being the establishment, only to be told by another Tory, Daniel Finkelstein, that Berry went to private school, became a lawyer, was working in number 10 under David Cameron, was a Remainer, chair of the Conservative Party, and knighted for all of these political shenanigans, and said it's embarrassing for Berry to talk about the establishment as if it wasn't him. I could also mention Zach Goldsmith's attempt to attack Rishi Sunak's environmental attitude a couple of days ago, but as he has no public presence, I'm not really sure many people noticed. But the point is that Sunak has troubles. His policies are failing, and Tories in both his party and the media are eating each other. He needs a change of direction to unite his party. His plan? Well, is to attack Keir Starmer along a couple of lines if reports are to be believed. Now, in theory, of course, this absolutely makes sense. Labour are, after all, attacking Rishi Sunak along 2 main lines to great success. The fact that he's out of touch. For example, he takes helicopters instead of the train when the train would only take like an hour. And that he's too weak to take action against the poor behaviour in his party. So, of course, the Tories will want to attack Starmer as well. The problem is they've tried it before and the tactic has repeatedly failed. So what are Sunak's ideas? Because, of course, if he's got a better plan, albeit, reports are suggesting that Sunak wants to make his 2 lines of attack against Starmer his age and his character. So let's go over those one at a time. So let's do the age thing first because it is the most hilarious. So Sunak is wanting to big up his youth. Come the election, he's in his mid-40s, Starmer's in his early 60s. So Sunak's going to say that Starmer is too old to make sound decisions in government. I may have spotted a small flaw in the plan. See, most Conservatives tend to be on the older side. In fact, let's look at it slightly more deeply. Consider more middle-aged voters, because the Conservatives attract middle-aged voters as well. And I'm going to talk more about them in a video this evening. But for now, let's look at the government's policies for them. So in their pursuit of reducing inflation, the government are supporting a series of policies, including higher interest rates and lower public sector pay awards that are specifically designed to reduce everyone's disposable income. When I say everyone, I mean people of working age. Now, this is not just an indirect consequence. This is their stated policy. They want people to spend less to drive inflation down. That's what they say their plan is. Their plan to drive down inflation is to take away your money. This is in the form of real-term pay cuts and higher mortgage and rent payments. Even for those working in the private sector, their efforts to suppress public sector pay is intended to help employers in the private sector reduce the size of their own pay awards. So they're literally trying to take money from people who are employed and have accommodation costs. So the Conservatives are not appealing to people in employment or who have a mortgage or pay rent. But if you're retired and you own your own home, in other words, an archetypal Conservative voter, you're not affected by this. Your pension's keeping in step with inflation and you don't pay rent or mortgages, so you don't worry about the increase in interest rates. In fact, if you're a saver, you're getting some benefit, even though you haven't had it all passed on to you. But don't worry, the government are moaning at the banks about that. So the Tories may well be appealing to these older voters. But these are the voters for whom Keir Starmer can still be considered on the young side. Certainly younger than they are. By trying to attack him as too old to make sound decisions in government, Sunak is also attacking the bulk of his remaining voters for being brain-addled. I'm not convinced this is the best plan anyone ever came up with for winning an election. The second attack line is on Starmer's character. Now, this has been tried and failed by more experienced political skullduggery operators than Sunak, especially at the Daily Mail. They're having another bash at it in the Mail on Sunday today. It has failed every time. So what's Sunak's angle? Well, he's aiming to point at Starmer's changes of policy recently. The old flip-flops, as they say. Now, it is true that on the Twitterati are none too impressed with these moves. Absolutely. But let's consider why they're happening. Earlier this year, Labour started announcing firm spending pledges. Some are now being delayed or scaled back due to the ever-worsening economic outlook. And we may not see the end of it either. But the reason Labour are scaling back some of these plans is because they have to convince voters that they're balancing the books. There has to be absolutely no daylight between spending and taxation plans, or the Tory press will be full of stories magnifying it, talking about how their plans are going to cost each household this amount, is going to bankrupt the country. They do enough of that as it is without giving them the gift of having the figures to back their claims on. In other words, Labour have changed some spending pledges in order to meet the approval of key voters. That's why they've done it. They haven't just thought, I've changed my mind. It's not Keir Starmer being fickle or the shadow cabinet being fickle. They're constantly making these changes to make sure they meet the approval of the voters they're targeting. So what's Sunak's plan, really, when you think about it? To point out to these people that Starmer has changed a policy to meet the approval of those voters. Well, the voters approve of it, so they don't mind that. I mean, who's going to attack a politician for changing a policy more in line with your own thinking? This seems ill-conceived. Of course, we would expect Sunak's Tories to try to attack Starmer on a personal level. Of course they will. Par for the course in politics. But is this the best they can do? That being said, I do hope Labour learned the lesson of the 2016 referendum. See, the debriefing from all that fiasco pointed to the very negative campaign run by Remainers, compared with the much more positive, hopeful one run by Leavers. It is now clear that the Conservatives are going to commit to a negative campaign for the next election. Attacking Starmer on lines which are simply not going to work, saying things are bad but they'd be worse under Labour, pushing their culture wars. The latest is even that they might commit to leaving the European Court of Human Rights. All very negative, 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 negative. Now, I know Labour have said they want to under-promise and over-deliver. They don't want to hype up their offer. Fine. But I do hope there is still a positive message coming out at the election. It may well be that the current line of vote for us, we're way less painful than the Tories, is enough. At the moment, it is enough. But I would still hope to see some really positive change presented. Doesn't have to be the full thing. They don't have to hype the hell out of everything. Just something. Some grand plan that is going to instantly make people's lives better. It's not like they don't already have the policies for it. They're just not plugging it. Give you an example. In the stream last night, we ended up getting onto employment rights. Labour have announced that they will introduce an employment rights bill in their first 100 days in office. Now, we won't know the details of what's in it yet because I'm sure a lot of it will be the rights that we currently have, but the Tories are taking away with their retained EU law bill, which is now going to pass into law. Why don't Labour promote this now? It would do two things. First, it would highlight to the public that the Tories are about to take away a load of their rights, and as they pick each one off, Labour can keep plugging it. We told you, look, they've taken away another one of your rights, and another, and another. It also has the side effect of tying in loss of rights with Brexit. Second, it emphasises that Labour will be strengthening their rights because Labour will be saying, look, they're taking away these rights, but we're going to put them back, but only if you vote for us. They've already got that policy. It already exists. So why not push it? Why not shout it through their megaphone? But regardless, I don't think much of Sunak's new plan here. Absolutely, he needs to find an attack line on Starmer. Of course he does. But trying to have a pop at him for listening to voters instead of Twitter and for being too old when he's still younger than their voters seems like the sort of political strategy you would win in a Christmas cracker. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.